More and more of the power in Kyushu was being placed in Yoshiaki's hands. Those who survived of his vassal clan, the Shiga, were now his direct retainers, and the chaos within the Shimazu clan had led to their central province of Satsuma being added into the Otomo domain. Yoshiaki's ambitions were driving him forward and showing no signs of letting up. His next target was the small independent island of Tanegashima, who had made the mistake of accruing too much trade significance to be ignored. This is where it all started. One matchlock made its way off this island, now hundreds return. Lord Tanegashima paid a hefty sum of gold for these weapons, and now he'll pay a lot more. Indeed, but can we be sure that this is the right thing to do? The right thing to do is what the Lord wants. Then is what he is doing right for him? You are desperate to address such unsettling questions. The way I tend to understand it is that what we're doing differs not from what any other lords are doing. Any unique advantages we happen to have gained are by our own merit and guile. We should be proud of all we have achieved. Is that why you volunteered to hide on that ghost ship half your life? Forgive me, but I consider my personal affairs beyond the reach of our Lord. Given your closeness to him, I would rather not explain myself to you. Lord Uno, I suspect I am closer to you in spirit by an immeasurable distance. That is irrelevant, of course. Yes, all right then. Let's prepare to execute our Lord's will then. Well said. Hello there, welcome back to Barbarian Masters, where we are currently fighting with the main force of the Tanegashima clan on Tanegashima Island. And as we saw, the battle started with some surprisingly uneventful skirmishing where we shot a load of their melee troops. But after a while they did send forward a single unit of bows to engage our skirmish line. So now I've got 3 units of matchlocks with 3 units of bows behind them, shooting over the top into these enemy archers, and they are not going to last very long under this absolutely withering fire. You can see most of the units destroyed right away, and this is only a drafted archer unit, so they get out of there. So that didn't work for the enemy. Now we can go right back to what we were doing before, continuing to shoot at their melee line, and their army isn't really reacting. I think the enemy's being far too passive here. So while they wait for us to run out of ammo, which is really the only viable strategy their current behaviour could suggest, we'll keep thinning out their melee line. And what we saw was that their morale was surprisingly high. Here we shot a unit down to the very last man, killing every single member of that company, and they didn't rout, and that was a drafted unit, the lowest morale type unit in the game. So it seems the enemy are very fired up for this fight, and they will die to continue adhering to their orders of doing nothing. A short while later, some more archers came out to try and duel with us, and I'm just showing you here how in about 3 seconds they disappeared. There's just too much power in our skirmish line for a single unit to do anything. They just get focused down and really have no impact on the battle. One side effect of us firing at the enemy is that matchlock balls go much further than the game's effective range, so they can hit things in the distance, and we've almost killed one of their generals here. He actually did get hit, but generals can only die if a certain amount of their bodyguards have already been killed, depending on their rank, because of Shogun 2's cheeky magic mechanics. Now, a tiny bit later, a few more archer units came out. In fact, the remainder of the enemy's skirmishing troops all came to fight me at once, so it was 3 or 4 units attacking different parts of the line. I've slightly curved the line to get better lines of fire onto the enemy. Now this was a bit more effective. They did damage to my matchlocks and to my archers with their return fire, but ultimately they didn't do very much. I'm switching here to show you the approximate soldier's eye view of what they see in all this. They're just firing into crowds of enemies in the distance, so they can just see walking over the bodies of their comrades to get into position. Not very nice for them. And one thing you might see here is that enemies who get shot don't always die. That's because they have 2 hit points in my custom version of the mod, so you have to hit each man twice to take him down. But with so much stuff being thrown at them, they get hit twice pretty soon and those units just fade away. Now, after losing most of their skirmishers, they finally commit to just attacking. They're going to charge us with loads of spears, and they actually have 5 units of Generals Hatamoto, the heavy cavalry, so that's their main threat here. Their main threat to us, I should say, and they're coming around our left flank. I got 1 unit of Naganatas to try and stop them, but it only blocked 1 of the units there, so a couple more of those units will now swing around and have free access to the edge of our skirmish line. Not nice. Our spearmen here have already engaged with the enemy spearmen coming from in front of them, so those heavy cav will now have a great time slashing amongst our lighter troops. I can try to attack them with sword units who aren't particularly effective, but maybe a tiny bit better than the matchlocks in melee. Meanwhile, other matchlocks are doing some very dangerous stuff. They're trying to shoot through gaps in our really thin front line to hit enemies. You can see the frontline engagement doesn't look all that good for us. The enemy do have quite a lot of troops, they just have slightly inferior quality to ours. One thing we'll have going is that we have Yoshiaki in stand and fight mode, so all of our guys have a buff in melee, plus most of the enemy being drafted will rout sooner than we will. We additionally had a rear attack coming in with light cavalry to hit one of their generals, and an extra unit of infantry that came in to take out archers, and from there it can go to rear attack the enemy's melee line, which will destroy their morale. Now, unfortunately, the replay kept crashing after this point, and I accidentally deleted my original footage, so now I will just have to cut to the result. And it was a decisive victory in the end, with some moderate losses taken among particular units who saw the worst of the fighting right at the end of the battle there, and some losses among our skirmishing troops, of course, from the skirmish phase. But the enemy's losses were complete, and that means we can immediately go on to attack their castle. I wasn't lying to you, Lord Tanegashima. I don't want your island.
So you'll give me the chance at life that you denied my men, my brothers?
I'll give you a chance to stay in your own home and rule it, and see me gone within the moon.
Why did you come here then? Leave me in charge and all you'll have done is kill people.
Yes, and that went very well, so I'll be on my way, if you'll just oblige me.
No.
Keeping in mind that with your wife and children as my hostages, I would have to forfeit their lives if you were to refuse my kind offer.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you would kill them. That I could bear. I know your habits. The ships with your trophies you sell the barbarians all stop here on the way. So I'll just do whatever you want. But please keep to your promise, and leave before I think of an even more idiotic way to end this drama.
The Tanegashima immediately start breaking off our new friendly relations by ending our trade agreement. However, that's not all that unusual at the moment. Everyone's ending their trade agreements with me, so I won't look into that too much. Now, our trade fleet up at Goto Islands has had to run away because the pirates were back harassing it, and it took sea attrition, so I'm taking them back to port to repair. But that leaves the trade node unoccupied, so anyone can go and sit on it, and the Goto themselves are right there with their own ships, so they could easily occupy it. That could be a problem. I need to move up a permanent military presence to that trade node, because the pirates are showing they like to attack it. All we can hope is that the pirates themselves will either take it, or just stop anyone else from taking it in the near future. Now, in North Hyuga, I'm going ahead with my plan of trying to get them to rebel so we can steal the province from the Satsuma. The rebellion is successful, the incitement is successful, I should say, and Yoshishige is going to sneak into the territory to be within movement range of the castle. We do have military access with the Shimazu right now, so we are allowed to do that. I also spotted here that the previous Christian rebellion we started is actually still going. I thought the Shimazu just wiped it out and it had no effect on anything, but they didn't manage to finish it off, and now it's taking down their infrastructure by attacking some of the outer parts of the province outside of the castle. So that's good, our ally being slowly weakened by our little scheme a while ago. After a while, those rebels did take North Hyuga. I had to move backwards because the Shimazu cancelled their military access with me while I was in their province waiting for this to happen, but we're still going to be close enough to exploit this. It seems the plan's going to work in the end, so I'm going to bring the missionary down south to start working once again on Christianizing the remaining Shimazu provinces, and we see that they do have an army moving up in that direction. Perhaps they want to take that rebel settlement back, but they won't get there in time. South Hyuga's also looking pretty rebellious, that's good news, and interestingly their daimyo is taking a small force towards Satsuma. Perhaps they were planning on declaring war on us to take back their capital while my army was away, but it's bad timing for them unfortunately because we've just got back from Tanegashima. We can now fully garrison the castle. That's going to end their dream of getting their homeland back, no doubt. Now at the start of the next turn, we learn a new clan has appeared, the Sagra, and they've appeared here in South Higo. So I spent a long time trying to get this place to stop being part of the Shimazu clan, and after I stopped trying, they did it themselves. This is excellent news. So once again our ally is getting weaker and weaker, and their loss is going to be translatable directly into our gain, because we can just move out our main force from Satsuma right now and start marching on South Higo. New clans, when they arise, usually don't have any diplomatic relations, so there's no long-term consequence for just taking their lands. So we'll just see if we can do it. It depends on what forces they have, of course, but we'll go and take a look, and we're going to be the first to arrive thanks to our zones of control now actually blocking the Shimazu from going there if they wanted to. Now we're also going to start this siege at North Hyuga. Unfortunately, my mangonel couldn't catch up with the army in order to take part in this fight, so I thought we might as well just leave it. There's no special rush to get in there. We want to use the mangonel if we're going to do a siege assault. We saw a flash there of Ito rebels in southern Hyuga, so more trouble for the Shimazu, excellent news for us. And then the rebels sallied out. The mangonel can't take part in reinforcement battles, so it's not going to be part of this fight, but this looks like a relatively easy field battle. The enemy's troop quality is in general higher than ours, but they have inferior numbers, plus we have a general which will give us a morale boost, and their rebels which often have low morale anyway. The battle also provided us with a supreme position on a hill overlooking the enemy's direction of approach. This was going to be good. I've got my drafted troops, my spears up at the front, some samurai archers behind them, then guns, then the inferior archers, and finally Yoshishige right at the top of the hill to overlook all of the proceedings. So the enemy are coming up with various high quality archer units, not very many of them, but they do have some samurai archers in there. We're just going to let them shoot into our drafted Ashigaru, because of course we do not care about them. All we care about is getting our guns to shoot down the enemy's samurai, because they are the potential problem. Luckily for us, their samurai were leading the attack, so I didn't have to do anything to make this happen. Our fire-at-will mechanics will just take down those enemy units straight away, and then the Ashigaru will make it up, having been spared that fire, but they've now got a challenging fight, especially here on our left, where I actually had some spear samurai who just immediately turned back the Ashigaru attacking them. The enemy had no chance and got out of there, so that's going to turn that flank and allow us to attack the backs of some of these other units, which are mostly just breaking of their own accord anyway. They have insufficient morale to win this fight, especially uphill after running at us as well, so losing all of their stamina. Everything starts turning back and everything on our side will charge forward. Now it's just all these archers to deal with, quite a lot of them, but their morale's going to be low having seen their main line break, and some of them are only Ashigaru archers, so as we make contact with them, that's going to convince them to leave. The samurai archers are going to be harder to convince. They don't mind fighting in melee and are pretty good at it, but we can still snipe them down with guns and arrows, inflicting a few losses, and finally the stacking up of all those morale penalties gets them to leave as well. Yoshishige catching up with the fight at the last second to make it look like he was involved in it in some way. That is a decisive victory. Silence! Allow me to say that it is regrettable that self-proclaimed servants of the Lord could not see his will. Many good men have been killed for this blindness. No more, though. The Otomo clan shall give you what you desire, a chance to be close to the creator of the heavens and the earth. You, the farmers, the artisans, the merchants, you are his children. And thus I see you as my own children also. Your protection shall be our first priority. There will be a price. The price is faith. The price is dedication and obedience to follow the plans passed down to us. Some of you will be needed in distant lands and will be asked to join our European allies on journeys to spread the message of the Creator and prepare the world for his return. Do not be afraid, and do not listen to those who try to corrupt or halt this process. It is a purpose beyond any you have had the privilege to take on in life. Some of you also will be asked to serve me personally in various matters. In fact, I see some here that would serve me well. You and you there, you rare beauties, please step forward. Our underhanded plan has been successful. We have taken more territory from the Shimazu without risking any sort of war with them. And now we're going to do a more direct operation. We're going for the Sagra. When I arrived, I saw that their forces weren't anything particularly special. Lots of Yari Ashigaru by the looks of it. But they do have a high-level fortification. That means they'll get loads of samurai units as retainers if we attack the castle. Still, we might as well get this going. We'll declare war, and indeed they had no diplomatic ties to anyone, so no one else is going to be concerned by this. What I'm going to do is just go right into these trees beside the road, because if we can, we want to fight all of their troops in a field battle first, and then take on the more powerful garrison. So I went into an ambush position hoping they would go for Satsuma. They actually saw my ambush, but they still wanted to come and fight anyway, so that's all well and good. We'll just get a normal field battle outside of the castle like I wanted. We have a small advantage on the balance bar. Our numbers seem to be much greater than theirs, but I think they're getting a lot of power from the fact they have all those generals. The Hatamoto cavalry are pretty decent units. So in this fight, I've set up with lots of hidden units. We've got hidden units on the right, including cavalry, and a somewhat hidden central position where I'm somewhat deliberately unhiding units in the center where my general's standing to try and get the enemy to attack that part of the line. Because of what we've got going on the left, I've got my matchlock troops on top of some cliffs that will overlook where the battle will take place if the enemy march to the position where my troops are currently revealed. As they get close, they're going to realise my men are up here pretty soon because we can fire down at them. So shooting these Hatamoto cavalry is a great opportunity to weaken them, and only one of them decides to get out of the way. That guy runs off, not wanting to just wait in range of our matchlocks. The other generals aren't so sure. They decide to wait it out, and we'll just keep sniping down at them until they move. That's going to kill most of those Hatamoto and make our life nice and easy. So eventually they're going to charge us with tons of Yari Ashigaru, and mostly we're going to be defending with the same unit. But of course now our plan is actually going to work. We can shoot at these guys throughout the fight from on top of these cliffs, thinning them out before they arrive, and even shooting into the melee after it starts to inflict more damage and morale shocks. One of my light cavalry units caught an enemy general just doing something or other at the back, so we left them in an engagement, hoping my light cavalry will win thanks to their bonus against other cavalry units. At the same time, the enemy were coming around for a flank attack on my left, coming to attack the back of where all my matchlocks were positioned. It would have been dangerous, but I was paranoid about that and had left spearmen and samurai in a position to stop it from happening, and that turned the enemy's very minor attack right back. Now on the front line, things are pretty messy. Both sides are relatively evenly matched, and on hard difficulty that means you lose in order to try and force you to do something more in the battle than just win on the front line grind. So the enemy are breaking through, and their general very literally breaks through by just coming straight through that melee. They're attracting matchlock fire, which is probably killing our own troops, but that's a favourite tactic of Yoshiaki. We'll just hope it does more damage to the enemy. Here was an interesting scenario. I managed to hit some of their archers with my katana Ashigaru, and then I assumed we would win, but apparently not. The enemy's bow Ashigaru was starting to beat us in that melee. Quite surprising. Maybe it's just the difficulty level changing things again, but if it is, that's pretty bad. It shouldn't be that extreme. The enemy are going to finish off our hopes of winning forever by hitting with this rear charge from one of their general's cav units. So we basically lost that entire Ashigaru unit out there, but at least it stopped the enemy from firing at us for a while. That is something. Now on the front line, the enemy starts to fall back. Their morale is breaking, and we will charge forward to inflict as much damage as we can here. We're also starting to close the trap from behind with units that went around to our left following the enemy's retreating flank attack. So they're going to be pretty surrounded and are going to take hefty losses here. Chikaharu rushing forwards to smash apart that archer unit in the end. We got rid of them eventually. The battle kept going though, because the enemy's faction leader was defiant. He was fighting against our light cav and doing pretty well. Light cav, although having their bonus against other cavalry, aren't a very good unit in general, so they do actually struggle fighting Hatamoto guards. They'll win just about. We seal the deal though by bringing in all these reinforcements, including Chikaharu, so that will allow the Sakura daimyo to see that it is over. He was probably killed in that charge as well. That's going to end the restoration effort for his clan and end this battle in a decisive victory.
We have several hundred prisoners, Lord.
Shigenobu is in Kagoshima right now. He'll know what to do with them.
Lord, I don't think that will please him.
Will it not? A shame. What pleases him is none of your business.
You are right, Lord, but I still feel obliged to protest on his behalf. You are obliged to do exactly what I say immediately, with no words other than assurances that you heard my instructions clearly. Yes, Lord, of course. I didn't mean to imply anything differently. Well, you did. Take those prisoners to Kagoshima at once, and find 300 more on the way. Yes, Lord.
We learned that the Ito rebels have taken over in South Hyuga, so the Ito clan is back, and this is of course terrible news for the Shimazu clan. They're now down to just one region. They haven't been at war with anyone, but they've been losing territory fast. Their military forces are still advanced and powerful. They have the best armies we've seen. Lots of samurai and very large in size. I wonder if they'll need to downsize now that their income is surely cut by all of these losses, but it is the AI on very hard difficulty, so you never know. Anyway, as for us, we're going to hit the remnants of the Sakura. I think that daimyo actually did survive, because there's an officer there in the background. I think that might have been him, but he's dead now either way. No problem for us to auto-resolve the garrison away with sheer numbers. So this means that South Higo is going to be ours, and that unifies Satsuma with the rest of our territory up to the north, and we have the whole western coast of Kyushu now under our control. Very nice, and we somehow haven't had to declare war on the Shimazu to take it yet. I'm going to try and repair up this place. We want to leave as soon as we can, because we can smell an opportunity brewing in the form of this Ito rebellion. In the very next turn I was able to get away using a missionary to stabilize public order. We want to set up to do the same thing to the Ito that we did to the Sagura, and that is just take them out before they get too involved in the wars, and most importantly before they get any allies, so we can just have their territory with no consequence. It was a bit difficult for Yoshishige to get away with public order still being stable, but we managed it. However, the Shimazu finally started fighting back. They beat us to it by just annihilating the Ito, so they've got their territories back and our plan has been foiled. That is a shame. Now I'm starting to build some new samurai units at Satsuma. Here there's a building that allows us to upgrade their weapons and armor, so we can get superior troops here. I want to get a whole load to replace out some of the units in Yoshiaki's army, since we do have the resources to do so right now. There were then several turns where not much happened. I was waiting for an opportunity to strike again against the Shimazu without risking war. I don't want to call their armies out to fight me until we're ready. It will take us a while to get armies on the same caliber as theirs, because samurai recruit very slowly. In the meantime, I can start converting their people over to Christianity, which is going to cause some hubbub. And what I actually saw was that South Hyuga there was left ungarrisoned for a while. I think the Shimazu army there came over to sit near their other force in order to defend against me sitting on their border. They were getting paranoid, And because South Hyuga was then easier to take, it was possible for rebels to do it. So I started another Christian rebellion using my missionary. There weren't that many troops compared to the troops left behind by the Shimazu and the garrison, so it wasn't a surefire thing. I'm going to level up Adalberto here to make him even better at starting rebellions, since this is a pretty effective tactic. Now, I was quite lucky in the next turn. Not only did I get this buff to my trade income from being so dedicated to trading, but there was actually a regular rebellion just caused by low public order that then joined with the Christian rebellion that was already going. So that just about doubled the number of rebels coming for South Hyuga, and now they do have a very real chance of taking it, so I was delighted to see this. The question is, will the Shimazu just take them down? They've got those 2 stacks right there that could just move out and annihilate these rebels before they do anything. The Shimazu go first in the end turn sequence, but just in case they don't, I was preparing, getting my forces ready on the border to storm in as soon as we'll gain military access, and it actually did work. The rebels took the place, the Shimazu didn't stop them. A pretty big fail, and now we're going to try and exploit this. We need to move in and hit them before the Shimazu do. They still have the chance to recover. They can just step in and take it right back. But really, fortunately for me, they didn't, which was quite incredible. And this leads to a very, very sneaky situation for us. Yoshishige, coming in, can now attack this rebel army in the field and draw out the rest of the rebel forces outside of the castle into a field battle, also drawing in all of the Shimazu armies because they're technically at war with these rebels. We can win this battle and take this province, making the Shimazu do all the work. Brothers under God, hear me. The Shimazu muck are coming this way to fight us, to deny us the right to a connection with the Lord. None of you can allow this. I have prepared plans to stop them. I know them better than any here. You will meet them in open battle and win, by the power of the Creator. Their vanguard has already passed us, so I will take my men to prevent the fall of the castle. Then I shall return to destroy the backward Shimazu and bring your people salvation. He isn't here. This is where he said we would meet, isn't it?
Someone's here, Lord. See the banners moving in the trees.
The rebels. Prepare for battle. And if you see any Otomo men among them, kill them too. Like father, like son. Christianity had broken apart old loyalties between the people and their clans. The samurai elite seemed ever more aloof and exploitative in the knowledge of how the supposed ruler of all reality operated. For a Christian, the best chance at the life the Europeans were promising them was to side with the Otomo clan, whatever they thought of them. This powerful force was bringing the island under Otomo control, piece by piece. And while the conquest was slow, and without great loss of life relative to the usual military feuds, it did not go unnoticed by lords near and far. It was clear how the creep of the barbarian rhetoric could destroy the centuries-old order of the nation. Yoshiaki may not have been the most powerful warlord, but he was by far the most threatening. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much everyone for watching, and thanks of course to all the OfficiallyDevin patrons. We'll find out that while we've been toying with the Shimazu, a very dangerous plan has been set in motion against us on the next episode of Barbarian Masters.